The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Hello, and help me welcome Senator Kevin Avard for his third term. Was elected this November, and you already started getting organized, huh? You've got 3 committees that you're going to be working on up there.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about that. What's happening?
Carl, thanks for having me, and I want to thank the voters for voting for me, and especially in Nashua. Thank you. There were a number of people that came out and supported, that worked at the polls. It was a hard-fought campaign. We had a recount. I gained 57 votes in the recount. So did she. I'm 57 years old, and I live at 57 Sherry Ann Ave.
Oh, there you go.
So I played the numbers. It didn't work. So that being said, I want to thank everybody for their participation, and I'm honored. And we've gotten started. We've had our caucus. We've had our organization, and I'm on energy again, thankfully. I asked for that, and I got that. And I'm on health and human services and on rules. And so what we're going to be trying to consolidate a little bit with rules in that some of the bills that come in, sometimes they mirror other bills. And some people, I get the same ideas. And so we're going to try to make sure that we're not redundant in our bill making. So the rules will take a look at it, and if we can squeeze some bills in together as companion bills.
Yeah, that's something that's been discussed for a while, because we've had over 1,000 bills, and when they really want to have maybe 500 at most.
Right, and in the Senate, 300's a lot.
Yeah,
that's a lot, and of course, then if we have to take on all the House bills as well, and considering we only have 3 rooms at this particular time that we can work in. It's going to be a challenge for certain, but we're up to it. I can't wait till the days we get back into normal. When everybody can come into the House and the Capitol. I know there needs to be some capital improvements as far as ventilation, and I think that's in the works. So we got a lot on our plate, and we're looking forward to it. I think. Right now, the budget's going to be one of our top priorities.
Definitely.
And it usually is in the first year. So balancing out, what happened and moving forward.
Yeah.
Gary Daniels is the chair of finance, and Gary's very solid, very even, a good guy. And
he's been there quite a while.
He's been there a while, and he's got a lot of. He's got a lot of praise for what he does. And he's got a lot of history of public service.
Historic experience too that helps out.
And he sits right next to me, so I get to know what's going on.
There you go.
Well, we'll see. But it'll be a little different. One of the nice attributes is people will, although they won't be able to come into the public hearings, they will be able to view them on Zoom.
Well, that would be good. That'd be new.
That is new. I think the best of both worlds is if they can actually come and Zoom. I think for the longest time, people have been saying, well, we'd love to know a way to broadcast all these hearings so that the public, if you're working, you can't know what's going on in a hearing. This is a way for the public to be well informed. And there'll be a means for that to happen. So I think that's a good thing, but I still think the best of both worlds is for people to actually be able to come back to the Capitol.
Oh, definitely. If that's better, it's always better face to face.
Right.
But will the people who are on Zoom be able to testify?
I'm hoping they can. I think that's the whole idea.
Yeah, I think. But how do they? We used to write on a card and get it in and stuff like that. How will could they do the chat part of the Zoom?
That's a very good question that has not been brought up before me. So I don't know. I know that we will actually be physically there with our computers Zooming from the Capitol. And it'll be good to be doing it from there. Sometimes we'll be able to do it from home. But I think being there and having the resources available to us if we need to go to OLS or someplace else to get quick information. But I don't know. That's a good question, and it's something that needs to be answered.
Might as well try to think of all the weird possible things that'll happen to you and try to resolve them before it happens.
I'm sure that somebody's working on that. I'm sure somebody brought that up because it is a public hearing.
Yeah.
And there will be public testimony. So I don't know if people will actually be able to come in one at a time, but there won't be like the crowds that we have.
Right,
So you're not going to be able to fill all the chairs. Another thing that's going to, right now, the lobbyists won't be able to come into the House. And so there won't be people roaming the halls. It'll be by invitation only at that point. So the halls are quiet. The gift shop's quiet. And hopefully I can bring my guitar and play a little bit. But it's going to be a challenge. There's a lot of issues that have to be dealt with. Obviously, the budget. I think one of the top priorities for my committee will actually have to address something to do with the water situation and the PFOAs.
Right.
There's a situation that's arising more and more. That's definitely going to have to be dealt with. A lot of things that are going into actuaries and tributaries or whatever, just seeping into the ground, whether through landfills or dumping. It has to be addressed because it's a health risk. So we're going to be looking at that. The water situation is something that's kind of critical.
Have they found more areas? I mean, other than the Merrimack type?
Well, nobody has notified me yet, but usually as a chair, I hear of it. But basically talking with other people, that is one of the areas that we're going to be addressing is definitely the PFOAs and the water situation. I'm going to be putting in a bill, and hopefully Nashua will benefit from it. It has to do with the hydro and renewable energy. We have the potential of 3 megawatts using our hydro facility, and usually the bill that I put in last time, it didn't make it. It didn't make it through. So this time we've amended it a little bit, and hopefully Nashua can use it. Maybe Hollis, maybe Hudson or surrounding towns within our counties
to use your what?
Right, and it'll actually work for the municipalities and for the schools. Now, one of the things that's alarming is we're hearing a narrative that's being sent out there, and I want to address this, and that is that some of our colleagues on the other side of the table are trying to put out in the narrative that the Republicans want to raise your property taxes, and it's buffoonish. It's silly. It's wrong, and it's unwarranted. That is the last thing we want to do. We want to lower your taxes, and we know that a lot of people are struggling. I was talking to Olga's Dresses. She's having a really difficult time, and we've talked to her. We've reached out to the governor's office, who's trying to help people like Olga. She's done thousands of dresses in this town, in this community, but because of COVID, she's struggling. So the last thing that she needs is a tax increase or her property taxes to go up, let alone her rent. So we're trying to, when we were in the full majority, we sent at least $140 million back to the towns.
Right.
None of that money went to tax relief. So what that tells you is that if we sent back $1 billion back to the towns, unless your local representatives, your local aldermen, your local selectmen, city councilors, city managers or mayors, unless they appropriate that money into tax relief, you're not going to get any tax relief. So the real issue is for local people to start addressing the Board of Education, start addressing your alderwoman, your mayor. These are the people that are spending your money. They can blame it on trickle down, but it isn't. We've been sending money back. They claimed in this last election that they sent money back. Well, where's your tax relief? Well, who's spending the money? Why, if you're not getting the full services with your education, why is the cost going up? Did you get a tax increase? Didn't we just recently talk about your tax bill? Didn't that just go up?
Yeah.
So if it's going up, why? There needs to be a situation where that has to stop. So I'll be introducing some legislation that aldermen I think he was at large. I'm not sure. Dan Moriarty?
He wasn't the last time he served, yes.
Well, he sent over some language and regarding the cap. There needs to be a restraint on spending. There needs to be a restraint. And if the local representatives, local aldermen can't do it on their own, if they can't think forward enough for those who are paying the bills, then there needs to be a cap. And so we're going to be changing some of the language so that the cap will actually fit and make it through the courts. To take care of that ruling that we had that was kind of screwy about the validity of the cap that we did have, which was working very well. Right. And so there needs to be enforcement. There needs to be a language that is brought forward so that it can be enforced and that the people have a standing or whatever the language is. So that is going to be brought forward. And this is for you, the taxpayers of Nashua, New Hampshire. You need to know what's going on with your local alderman. That's where it counts. And now's the time to start thinking even about the next election of the Board of Education who appropriates or causes the spending. You need to do this. You need to do this now and start thinking about it, because that's where the money's being spent. When we send $140 million back to the local municipalities, if you're not getting tax relief, it's not the state handing down unfunded mandates. That used to be the cry of a lot of city councilors and local representatives. But so they're sending money back. Why aren't you reducing the taxes? Why are the assessors not
they're spending that? They're going to say that first of all, with the virus and stuff and the employment for the city, their income has been cut quite a bit. And they're already complaining about 20% or whatever it is increase in healthcare costs over the last 2 years. So I think we have to look at both the state budget and the city budget to see what's happening and see how the transition, where the state money goes.
So we've always learned that competition helps bring the cost of things down. And one of the things that we need to do is to consider, why the cost of healthcare is going up exponentially. And it has been for a long time. So we have to address that issue. How do you address that? Well, one of the ways is to introduce competition. Another way is for verification of what the cost of the actual care is. So there needs to be transparency on how much that aspirin is going to cost you, how much a stay in the hospital is going to cost you, what it's going to cost at another facility. There is a certificate of need, which is it's something that we've been discussing over the years. The certificate of need says, well, you can't build a specific medical facility within a certain area because it will flood the area with too many doctors or too many hospitals or too many of this. Well, if that's the case, that would drive the cost of healthcare down. We have to look out for the people first. And that's one of the areas that we need to address. The cost of healthcare can't continue to go unchecked.
And that cost of is also looked at for a hospital that already exists. If they want to buy some advanced equipment, they may not be able to.
Exactly. And so I know that we had a bill that we worked out. Senator Bradley put in an amendment which would lower the cost of penicillin, I think. And so we need to have more legislation on that scale, because we can't live to pay our medical bills. We can't pay to live to pay our taxes. That's not living. That's it's not even surviving. We're the land of the free. We have options, and we should be able to take advantage of that. So I think, and if I could just challenge the people to remember that it's your local people that are spending your money. And, until it hurts, you got to get involved.
Well, it's also our dependency on federal money, too. How much of our budget is federal money nowadays? And I think that's one of the things that was supposed to be cleared up, but maybe this last election isn't going to allow us to do that.
Well, there is some federal money that we're actually going to be looking forward to, and that has to do with the $45 million for the charter schools. We're the only state in the country that did not take advantage of that. And now that a new administration is poised to come in. We're not sure exactly what's going to happen just yet. If it is going to be an
That's
actual,
the $45 million.
that they would probably shut that right off before we have a chance to take advantage of that. So that only hurts the kids. It comes in $10 million spots or something to that effect. But the charter schools are working. If you drive by the Mac Society, you'll see that the cars are waiting in line to pick up their kids. These people are concerned about the kids getting a good, proper education. I know that families are struggling with this Zoom situation. I know kids are struggling doing it at home. It's not for everybody. It's for some, but not for everybody. And I think we need to address this. There needs to be a better balance. And so that's an area that we have to consider. Also, the unused portions of the general public schools, if there are areas that aren't being used, the charter schools should definitely be able to take advantage of that. Why not? They're charter schools and they're public as well. And it's taxpayer funded. So the whole idea is that the education needs to follow the child.
Oh, yeah.
And they're the future. And if we're looking at politicizing this whole industry, it's not serving the kids. So we need to free up the industry in such a way that there are all kinds of options to lower the cost. The taxpayers have had it. 60 to 70% of the local budget is through the education program. Are all the kids being bused? Are all the kids utilizing the schools? Is there, why? Why is the cost going up? So these questions need to be answered. And I'd love to see the mayor come up on your show and talk about some of these issues.
Well, they're doing a lot for schools. Their plans are building a new middle school, and it's going to be a 3-story school and lots of money in an area where the neighbors are not too happy about it in southwest Nashville.
And they're going to have to increase busing because I believe that is going to replace Elm Street.
Yes.
Yeah. So those inner city kids will have to be bused over to.
When they're expanding the other 2 middle schools too,
right,
at the same time. So there's a big hunk of money that's going into that. And
has that been approved yet?
The ability to spend it has been approved. I don't know if they have a necessary approval of let's get started. Now that they have the bonding approval for it. It's something like I don't know how many $100 million, because it's approval expanding and both of those schools plus this brand new one, and taking down the Elm Street school. I'm not sure what they want to do with that yet. I think that has potential for being used still with some modification.
In the Keith Center?
And yeah, right. The Art Center, I'm not sure why they can't use the old Elm Street area for the Art Center and put another couple of stores downtown where they want to build
Now, I'm not sure if the local municipality Nashua has instituted its 10-year plan, or is that still in the process of creating a 10-year plan?
Yes, they just started to redo their 10-year plan.
Right.
And they haven't done it in 20 years. So it's sort of out of date.
Yeah. And they're supposed to do it every 10 years.
Right.
Right. So why this administration has done it?
And there's a number of other things. They want to improve the river. They want to have some kind of events on the river. All these things may be very good, but I think at a time where we don't have the normal flow of income, we have to consider that.
Right. I think the cart is before the horse, in that you have to grow into this. You can't spend your way into this. The Keynesian method doesn't seem to always work. There has to be economic growth in the area. You can have more housing, but that doesn't mean there's economic growth. That just means there's more services needed. And the cost of those services will increase unless you balance that with industry. So places like Olga's, that has to flourish. They're the backbone of the community.
And she fell through the cracks.
And she fell through the cracks. Ladies and gentlemen, there are thousands of people that
Right.
she's worked on dresses, thousands. She's still finishing up a few jobs. But because of COVID and her rent, apparently they still want the rent. And she's not making the money anymore. So it's a really difficult situation. If you drive down Main Street, it doesn't look like it's flourishing right now. You know, there are a few restaurants, that's great. But we need to help them out a little bit. Maybe reduce the rooms and meal tax, and that's somebody mentioned that a few times on the campaign trail, and I think that's one of the things that we want to look at. I am putting in a bill for music therapy. Let's see what happens. I believe it passed the House, but it never made its way to the Senate. And I had asked my assistant, why didn't it make its way to the Senate? Every bill has to be heard.
Yeah.
COVID.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's where they lumped everything together. That was a zoo last summer where they had to close out.
But that's not legal. Every bill, according to our Constitution, I believe, has to be heard from both parties and voted on. It doesn't say whether there's an epidemic.
Well, they lumped them together into one bill that had been heard.
Right. Oh, and it never made it up to the Senate at that point. So it's another bill that we'll be putting in. I strongly believe that music is is more than just entertainment. It is a method of communicating, of helping and soothing. I've witnessed it myself many times over, where it brings joy. It can bring sadness, but those that need therapy, it is a tool.
It's a very relaxing thing that tense people in tense situations are worried about something, really do benefit by it.
Yeah. So there's a lot that's going on, and there are many issues. There's this affordable housing that's definitely a state issue that that was brought up. Definitely the water issue, the budget. Energy is on our plate.
Well, energy you're talking about is really a potent part of the attracting new businesses here.
Many businesses make that decision whether they're going to come here or not. And right now, our energy prices, I think they spiked another 15% over the last couple of years. So we need an alternative. Now, this isn't going to be a fix-all for everything. But if we can save the municipalities some money, let's say we save them some money, now don't spend it. Don't spend it. Reduce your cost and the cost of running the city. Try to find reductions and cutbacks that aren't going to hurt people, but will actually help people. Reducing the cost of energy for the schools, for all the municipal parts of our city. The streetlights, that's just one bill that if we can generate it ourselves, that's a win for Nashua. It may be a win for a neighboring town, Hollis or
Well, I think that's
Hudson.
one of the things too that we haven't looked at carefully enough is working with our neighboring towns.
Right.
A lot of cooperative projects. For example, I mentioned the development of the river. Well, we might want to have Hollison on that, or somebody else. If we're doing Merrimack, we have Hudson, we have Merrimack, we have Litchfield, our neighbors on that.
Right.
Maybe they want to get together and put some areas. So we look at this as maybe a county effort.
Exactly, and if we can start looking at that, because we are close neighbors, and one town definitely affects another town, but working together, we can make great music. We can make this an attraction and really viable for business and of course for quality of life. And so I think that's that's something that we really need to look into. I know that you and I talked a little bit about rail, and I don't know. I haven't been paying as much attention to that lately.
Well, one area that really thinks it's going to be benefiting is our airport up there in Manchester. If they have been suffering a loss because of just the way that Southwest and some of the other airlines were scheduling. And they want to bring up people. And actually, Boston wants to ship some people up here to use the airport because they've run out of space.
Will the governor let people cross the border? I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
So anyway, no, it's something that has to be looked into. I mean, it's the transportation is part of the.
I met the governor of Massachusetts, not our governor.
Yeah, right. Okay, you want to clarify?
I had to
You want
clarify.
to play it safe here. Huh?
Yeah, listen, we're back in office, so just making sure.
I think one thing is our governor up here is handling his job much better than the governor down there is handling it. But that's another story.
It's just we want to keep New Hampshire free.
Well, one of the things we want to infrastructure we want to build up. That's the way you attract a lot of.
Right.
And if you they're looking at the transportation, not only people but freight and stuff. The Pan Am Rail has been bought out by a larger CDX, I think it's called, out of Florida. And they are going to expand because right now the railroad in Maine and New Hampshire and Vermont are all pieces. There's several little sections that are owned by different companies, and this one company essentially has bought most of them, and they're going to try to integrate, I guess, their shipping so that they use a lot of rail and don't use a lot of trucks on the highway. And that's one of the things that'll benefit us also because trucks are more wear and tear on our roads.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've talked about the red flag bridges, and it is the trucks that definitely use it. But we need the trucks. So we need the transportation. We need the infrastructure for logistics.
Kevin, I'm going to have to get you back. We're running out of time.
I see that. Look at that.
How about that? We'll have you back after you start doing your legislation up there.
Yeah, we want to keep people informed. We want to make sure that they know how to access the Zoom and the hearings. And if they have any questions, they can contact Secretary Avard.
It's going to be all put on the website up there. So a lot of stuff will be explained. People who want to look up when the hearings are, what the format is, and all that can look it up on the state.
Yep.
Okay.
Thanks for having me.
Good.
Thank
you.
Yes, sir. All right.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.